And now it's time for another moment I hope you've been waiting for. Our keynote speaker today is none other than our very own incredible creative force, the founder and chief creative officer of HumanSense Sri Lanka, Miss Ruchi Sharma. Let's give a warm round of applause and welcome this brilliant mind to the stage to deliver the keynote address of this evening.
Hi everyone, I think you've heard enough about me, so I'm not going to introduce myself. I must say it's really lovely to see clients here as well as students, and the amazing thing is while you're not technically students, you're all working students, and I always feel like people who spend time from their working life to take time to keep learning is really amazing. So kudos to all of you all for being here. And I know I'm standing between the food break. You all have heard enough of speeches, so I'm going to keep mine a little short. But since the topic today was creativity is our superpower, I would like to start off with, and I was also asked earlier in one of the panels that what do I think is maybe sometimes standing in the way of Sri Lanka advertising really being recognized globally. And I want to just play a little film which will make you realize that this is probably sometimes the attitude we need to do to make people notice us and to make a difference.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
I wish this applause was for me in having this film. It's just so amazing. It still gives me goosebumps. And every time, we all know that the business that we are in, whether it is the business of creativity or just the business of selling brands, we all know that the day-to-day can be very exhausting. And it's nice to listen to all these things about, oh, go ahead and do stuff and get your mojo back. But it's important to, when you're really feeling down, to see inspiring things like this, because I have been in Sri Lanka now for 15 plus years, and I must say I absolutely love this country. I wouldn't think of being anywhere else but living here. And I come from a really large country, I'm back home. And the only thing I really, and this is why I said what I said earlier, is that I wish you guys would show a little bit more irreverence. You all are just such an amazing breed, and I just feel like, but too polite. So I think the first lesson, the first superpower, I've got 10 of them and I'll go through them quite fast. I've been given 10 minutes, so 1 minute per superpower. But I think if Sri Lanka and all of us here in this room actually decide from today onwards, we are going to be a little irreverent. And irreverent is, if you look at the dictionary word, it's got a very negative tone. But actually, it can really change the world. None of these people followed the rules and just were polite. They actually broke the norm. And if we can start looking at anything that we do with that attitude, I'm very sure that irreverence is what will stop us from being irrelevant. And the more we start doing that, the more it will start showing in our work. And that's how we'll start building our superpower. The second thing I would say, and a lot of these are superpowers that I have actually inculcated in myself to be where I am today. It's lovely to read the bio data of somebody. It always says only the highlights. It's been a crazy journey. And I think one of the things that I want to say is, maybe you can just start off by being very annoying. And when I say that, I mean it in a way that ask a lot of questions. Please do not just say, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. I remember my boss telling me, why are you in advertising? Why don't you just become a journalist? Because you're constantly asking me why is this not happening? And I do believe that that is how we start stifling curiosity, when we start giving that kind of attitude to somebody who's being very curious. So I would actually say, every time you get a brief or every time you get a challenge in your business or whatever else you're doing, please ask yourself why and how. And these guys that you just saw in the film have asked that question. The reason today, there's an amazing film, by the way, on Netflix. If you guys have that subscription, please have a look at it. It's called BlackBerry. And it talks about how BlackBerry came into form. It just started because one guy said, what if we have these emails that we have on paper actually in a phone? And I remember when I was back there, BlackBerry was my prized possession. And then Steve Jobs came and did, and that's part of the film as well. And he said, why only email? Why not a camera, and why not music? The why and therefore the how, which is where the technical guys came in, is how we got the iPhones and the iPods and the IIIs. Airbnb started because somebody just said, what if, and if you go back to the story of Airbnb, these guys were really struggling to pay their rent. And they said, you know what, one of the ways we can generate income is we have a mattress, so why don't we just rent it out to people who are coming, because they were living pretty much in the central part of the city. And they started renting out their own mattresses and charging for it. And from that came the idea of, hey, so many people have these beautiful homes, why don't we start making that our business? It's always come with that curiosity, that annoying thing of not accepting status quo. Netflix, as you know famously well, Netflix has become the giant it is, but years ago, the founder actually said, he was charged $40 for late fees. And he was like, why the hell should I be paying $40 to watch a movie that I enjoy? So I'm going to create this subscription model where everybody can just watch films at their convenience and there will be no late fees. And look at where Netflix is today. So if we just always ask ourselves these questions very annoyingly, either at ourselves or at whoever's giving us the task to do, I think we'll be pretty much on our way. The third superpower I would say I have had, and I would encourage all of you all to have as well, is please, pardon the French, but shit in your pants. Please be a little bit fearless. Accept the fear, go ahead and do stuff. It's scary to do different things, okay? I came to this country years ago not knowing a soul. I was shitting in my pants. I joined an agency where I had no clue what I was going to do. I had 40 people who were reporting into me. I was much younger than them. I was shitting in my pants. I went to New York, and the famous thing in New York is fake it till you make it. And honestly, I felt like such an imposter because I was a creative director in New York. I was shitting in my pants. But I went ahead and did it. And those are the things that make us what we are. And those are our superpowers, even though we don't realize it when we are doing it. You kind of sometimes connect your dots. When you connect the dots, you realize those things. Another thing is, please, a lot of you all are in your 20s, and I urge you, because I feel like I should have had this advice when I was there. Be a ticking time bomb. And I mean that, do not take your 20s and your 30s and your young life for granted. Be impatient. Realize that time is the only real wealth we have. Make the most of it. Do not waste your time just scrolling, watching stuff, going out. It's very important to have fun, but do not spend your time only doing that. Be restless, be very, very hungry, be impatient. If the place you're in, whichever one, is not working fast enough for your ambition, figure out how you can change it or change the place. But do not take this lovely time that you have for granted, okay? Time is short, and we all know that, especially during the pandemic. So make it count. The next superpower I would say, and my dear friend Ransley is a brilliant example of that, is be a joker, guys. Don't take life so seriously. Nobody got out of it alive. Do your work, do it with sincerity, but please make a difference. Make people smile and smile while you're doing it. Sri Lankans are known for the best smiles in the world. Yet when you go to office, you see them being very serious. And I'm like, why? Even right now in the room, I see a lot of very serious faces. You guys have the most amazing sense of humor. I have seen it after a few beers. Please bring it out more often. Bring it in your work. Bring it in the way you tackle your creative ideas. Really make, I worked in Thailand, and Thailand is known for its humor. And a lot of great Thai ads were created on that. And I've always sat back and said, this is the superpower I was talking about. The Sri Lankans can really have an amazing sense of humor as well. And if only you could tap into that. So don't take life so seriously. And I say that to myself all the time, by the way. The next one I would advise is be a bore. And by that I mean, please embrace boredom. We have become, humanity overall has become very action-oriented, and multitasking has become a superpower. And I beg to differ, especially for creative fields. I actually feel now that slowing down a little bit, taking time, getting bored, our children are not being encouraged to be bored anymore. They're not allowed to daydream. They're not allowed to look up in the sky. They're like, from one class to the other to the other. And I'm also guilty of that at times with my son. Let yourself be idle. When you're idle and you're just thinking of problems, the brain is an amazing algorithm. It starts connecting stuff. It starts connecting stuff that you've learned, that you've absorbed. We are not giving our brains that kind of downtime. Please do that. You don't need to listen to another podcast. You don't even need to listen to me. You don't need to listen to another inspiring speech. You sometimes just need to listen to your brains and just let it be. When you go for walks, you don't always have to be listening to let me get some more wisdom from them. Because like I said, the wisdom is inside you. Let that wisdom talk to you. The next one I would say is slay the demon of excuses. One of the things I've seen working here in Sri Lanka is, and the question was asked to me, why haven't you won our gold? I've always heard excuses like, we don't have the budgets that the Western countries have, or we don't have the power, the kind of the expertise. And I always say, embrace that. Because actually, when you start embracing the fact that you have very limited resources, you start thinking very smart. And let me tell you, across the world, people are very, very sympathetic and empathetic to the underdogs, as they call them. And if we make a difference, more people will notice it than, say, a really large economy making that difference. Yeah? I haven't met a single person I've met in my world travels who said, I don't like Sri Lanka. Everybody loves this gem of an island that we have. So work within that, really, really. Do not work behind those excuses that make us feel small. It's a very, very, like I said, talented resources that we have here. The next one I would say is kill your babies. And this doesn't just mean kill your ideas. Here I mean, as human beings, the day we are born, we all have an ego. And the ego is I, me, myself. I mean, look at a little baby. It doesn't care about anything else. When it's hungry, it'll cry. When it wants your attention, it'll make sure you get the attention. It's all about me. And somehow you cannot achieve that kind of superpower if it's always going to be about you. Please collaborate, work across each other, post this thing when you're talking to each other. Try and see how you can collaborate, network. Kandi mentioned that as well. Just try and make Sri Lanka superpower as a collaborative effort. Clients, agencies, educational institutes. You can't do it alone. Believe me, I've tried and it hasn't worked. So you need to have that collaborative power. The second last one is, I would say, sleep on the job. This is a little connected to the earlier one where I said, I just feel people are not sleeping enough. And if you're not sleeping enough, you're always going to be wired, you're always going to be tired. So please make that rest a very important part of it, because your brain, your subconscious is an amazing creative tool. When you're sleeping, very often I have a brief and I just keep it next to me and I just ask myself the last question before I go to sleep, how do I solve this problem? And I go to sleep and somehow the next day it just flows. And I don't know who gives me those ideas, but there is a superpower that's giving me those ideas. And that works. And the last, since I must end on an irreverent note, is, and this is the biggest superpower, please be an asshole. And the reason I say that is, I really believe that that part of our body has been really misunderstood. It is actually the part of the body where all the rubbish in our body all the toxicity comes out. And as we all know, when that happens is when we really feel like, oh, we can face the world again. And that's what I mean by being an asshole. Get rid of all the self-limiting beliefs that you all have had, all the conversation that society has told you, you can't do this, oh, you're a girl and girls can't do this, and oh, you're a boy and boys can't do this. Honestly, it's all BS. And when you start getting rid of that kind of conversation and you really start accepting what the beautiful superpower that you are as an individual, you'll really make the best, you'll really probably own the best asshole in the world. So please go ahead and do that. Remember, each one of us is very unique, and that is really our superpower in this day of AI. You know, AI can tell us a lot of information, but AI can't come into a room and read the room. It can draw beautiful faces and portraits, but it cannot make you feel seen. The emotional quotient will always rest with us humans. And the more we realize that, the more we tap into our superpower and do not give that power away to anybody, the more we will become one of the most creative islands in the world. Thank you.